One more. One more. Beautiful. Good. That's what we've got to bring him on to. Nobody can take them.
Had to wear the Kronk merch. Shout out Kronk. So first session is strength. We're basically gonna be doing some explosive weights, high intensity, short amount of time. We're working on our sprint systems.
If I can beat Jake Paul, then excuse my French, what the f is Anthony Joshua gonna do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute.
Anthony Joshua moves with focused determination as he prepares for the showdown with Jake Paul. His training displays power routines, footwork sessions, and steady composure while he sharpens himself for battle. Jake Paul also works intensely on his side, aiming to prove he can compete with a true top-tier boxer. The build-up shows both fighters pushing themselves hard, raising interest about how this unexpected and widely discussed matchup will eventually unfold.
One thing I knew, he was a hard worker. Second thing I knew, genetically he's very gifted, but I knew after the evaluation we had some work to do. Now I've seen his body already evolve into something totally different. I've seen his conditioning evolve into something different, and more importantly, his understanding of his body and why he's doing things the way he's doing them. That's the most important evolution that I've seen.
Anthony Joshua trains with strong belief inside his camp, knowing he carries a clear advantage over Jake Paul. Despite that confidence, he pushes himself daily, focused on making a strong statement. His mission is simple: enter the ring, take control, and fully silence the ongoing loud chatter and bold claims coming from Jake.
I mean, on it, that's all that matters.
Because early on, if you look for power, you waste energy. Exactly. Then that power evaporates. When they're tired, you ain't got the power to take them out. So you got to open up in the gap for no reason. So just relax, flow.
Just pop off
Good
that
feet,
reach.
you were saying.
Just pop off that reach. And any time you move, that should be that. That should be that. Yeah. And then the controls down the middle. All right.
Yeah. That's what
Control, smooth, relax, relax, relax. Last minute, mate. That'll do you then. Uppercut. Good. Right hand. Good. 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 Left hook high. Good. Uppercut high. And again.
Eddie Hearn points out that the enormous financial offer presented to Anthony Joshua is simply impossible to overlook, particularly at this point in his career. Joshua has already accomplished nearly everything available to a heavyweight boxer. Therefore, accepting a lucrative matchup is more a strategic move than an act of desperation. Hearn notes that professional boxing has always been about both earnings and legacy. When a fighter can handle a bout without taking undue risk and receive a massive purse, it becomes a practical choice. The promoter stresses that Joshua is not doing anything improper by agreeing to it. Instead, he is capitalizing intelligently on the opportunities presented. Hearn emphasizes that turning down easy money when it aligns with training, timing, and career trajectory is unrealistic. In his perspective, Jake Paul offering such a significant amount naturally opens a door that Joshua is walking through, as boxing is also a business where major proposals must be considered seriously. Accepting the fight is thus both sensible and professionally justified, reflecting careful career management.
The ring by Mike Coppinger, that one's in the works and looking likely for December. What can you tell?
Yeah, not yet. I mean, there has been conversations, obviously. I think it comes down to how true, they are. Jake Paul is that he actually wants to fight. I mean, he's a madman if he wants to fight. But for some reason, and he thinks he can beat AJ. And I have to be honest, we were going to have a run out in December, over 8 rounds against a bloke you've never heard of. And we may end up having a run out against Jake Paul for a career high payday. I don't see how we can turn it down.
When I asked you about it a couple of days ago, you said at that time you never really got into the financials. Have those been discussed now? Have you discussed the financial element?
There has been some conversations around that, and it is, it's a huge amount of money. And I think AJ would be mad if he didn't do it, and I think he will do it if Jake Paul is genuine. We may wake up tomorrow with these people and they've announced another fight. Honestly, anything could happen. So I still can't get my head around the fact that this guy wants to challenge AJ. Listen, respect to him if it's true, but we shall see.
To end on that note, I spoke to Alfie Sharman earlier. He said about himself or DAZN have had no conversations about AJ potentially taking that fight. Obviously, AJ is exclusive to DAZN. what's the situation with regards to that? Because I know everyone here.
Apparently the fight's done. Obviously it's not done because, those conversations have to take place. I'm very confident that I can have some positive conversations with the zone. Obviously we'll be on a clock, but it's a 50-50.
Last one from me. I saw Chris McKenna tweeted that Anthony Joshua currently doesn't have a British Boxing Board of Control licence. Obviously, it's not unusual for someone who isn't fighting currently and is inactive to let it run out. But he'd have to apply for one to face Jake Paul again. And then they'd have to approve a fight. Do you think that'd be something?
Analysts highlight that Joshua's career already features battles against some of the hardest-hitting heavyweights of his era. Even after a 14-month layoff, they maintain that the experience gap between him and Jake Paul remains vast. They emphasize how Joshua spent years facing champions, knockout artists, and elite fighters who challenged him in ways social media-driven boxers have never faced. While inactivity can impact any athlete, the experts believe Joshua's fundamentals, strength, reach, and tactical awareness provide a decisive edge over someone still developing skills. They also note that his previous loss does not diminish his standing, because the quality of opposition he faced far surpasses anything Paul has encountered. Overall, the consensus is that Joshua's abilities, even after time away, are sufficient to control and dominate the fight at will. His technical mastery combined with experience ensures he is positioned to outperform Paul comfortably while minimizing surprises in the ring, reinforcing confidence in the expected outcome.
Wrong, right? And just to clarify, I don't class Otto Barlin as a very competitive fight. Every competitive fight that AJ is in from now until the end of his career and has been in for the last few years, I believe has taken something out of him. Every time he's in a competitive fight, even when he's won, and I'm not saying taken out of him to the extent where he's no longer a good fighter, no longer can do anything, but every single one has taken one out of him. So let's say, for example, you go down the Tony Yoka route and you can sell it as the 2 Olympic gold medalists and whatever. It's a lose-lose, mate. You're expected to knock him out. If you don't, then you go the distance. I think that's going to take something out of you. I actually think that this could be better prep for a Tyson Fury fight. Not just
mentally as well, because he smokes him and it looks great, and then he's confident.
This is what I'm saying, right? Not just from a stylistic boxing standpoint, but from the mental standpoint of the fact that if you go in there and you smoke Jake Paul, straight away, all of a sudden, it's headline news, it's massive, and as well as that, you're coming in off the back of something that's impressive, right? We all felt like the Francis Ngannou performance was really impressive, but it wasn't followed up with an impressive performance. So it doesn't actually determine whether or not...
This is worse. This is worse than that. I don't know what you're thinking, Lawrence, but the Ngannou one, you could at least say heavyweight. You could say that his pedigree. So we didn't really... While he was coming from a different kind of method of fighting, end of the day, he's still a champion. We're talking about Jake Paul, guys.
Do you know what's mad? Can I just add something in before Loza jumps in? There are Americans, and I've heard them in the last 24 hours, giving Jake Paul a better chance than Francis Ngannou, saying he has the boxing experience. Francis Ngannou didn't have enough boxing experience. Because that's how Americans view this whole thing.
Well, no, Francis Ngannou did have more boxing experience than Jake Paul.
Well, yeah. But that's what they're saying is Francis Ngannou had 1 fight, Jake Paul's had 10, 12.
10 rounds, and you little say I'm licking his ass. 10 rounds of Tyson Fury, will gain you more experience than everything Jake Paul.
Adam Catterall openly criticizes making this a fully sanctioned fight instead of an exhibition. He argues that converting it into a competitive contest places Jake Paul in a highly risky position because Joshua's natural power greatly exceeds anything Paul has faced. Catterall explains that exhibitions allow for controlled pacing and added safety. A real fight removes those protections entirely. He expresses concern that Paul may underestimate the seriousness of a heavyweight's punch, particularly one delivered by a fighter of Joshua's size and experience. He questions whether entertainment value should surpass fighter safety, asserting this matchup enters dangerous territory. His warning stresses that while fans might enjoy the spectacle, stepping in against a legitimate former world champion under official rules is far different from facing YouTube-level opponents. The physical consequences in such a scenario could be severe if proper caution is not observed.
for a year.
Yeah.
Brutal knockout against Dubois.
Yeah.
Not the same AJ maybe of the past. He's 36. He's got a chance to earn £70 million, maybe to add to the 150 he's already got. Why wouldn't he do it? Because why would he want to maybe for 5 or 10 million fight Fabio Wardley, who's dangerous, Itoma, who's dangerous? Surely from an AJ point of view, it makes sense.
Makes sense. From any fighter's point of view, it makes sense because you're in... Listen, belts don't pay your mortgage, do they? And I know he's got a lot of dough anyway, but 70 million... If someone's going to throw you 70 million quid to fight a lad that struggled and lost to Tommy Fury, you're going to take it, aren't you?
Yep.
So from AJ's point of view, yep, I completely get that. From Jake Paul's point of view, you're leveraging your audience in the world of boxing and making a ton of cash fighting the former two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world. Mate, most boxing fans would bite your hand off at that opportunity, especially if you're throwing 70 million quid in the pot as well. I've no problem with the promoters. My problem is that it can't be a legitimate fight. Let's be dead honest about this, right?
Eddie Hearn said it will be.
Listen, there is no commission on the planet that can authorise that fight. It's a two-time unified heavyweight world champion, still in his athletic prime. You just said he's 36. We're not talking Mike Tyson age of 50-odd here now, are we? Olympic gold medalist. He's had 13 world title fights as AJ. 13 of them. Against the very best guys.
And could take his head off.
It is dangerous.
Yeah.
It is absolutely dangerous. Like I've just said, Jake Paul struggled with Tommy Fury. The levels between these two guys are ridiculous. The commissions cannot sanction that as a legitimate fight. There has to be a rule change. It has to be an exhibition. And then you can have a little bit of a move.
Hold on, Gav. Let's go back to proper boxing. I'm with Cats here. You know, this
big story though.
Oh, listen, it's because it's AJ, because it's Jake Paul. It's going to do numbers and capture people's eyes, right? But there's no.
Experts note that many fans have long awaited a Joshua versus Tyson Fury fight, a matchup teased and discussed for years. Observers say people are puzzled that instead of pursuing the anticipated heavyweight clash, Joshua is facing Jake Paul. Analysts explain that boxing politics, contractual negotiations, and scheduling issues have made finalizing the Fury fight challenging. In contrast, the Paul bout was simple to arrange and offered immediate financial reward. They acknowledge fan frustration, but emphasize that Joshua is following the path that makes sense at this stage of his career. Even though the Fury matchup remains the ultimate dream, the business side of the sport often pushes fighters into alternative directions. Chisora stresses the destructive potential Joshua brings with a clean, well-placed punch. He believes that once Joshua connects solidly, the fight could end quickly. Chisora points out that Paul has never encountered power at that level, making the likely outcome apparent. His remarks combine caution with realism, underlining the inherent risks of boxing, especially when size, skill, and experience gaps are so significant.
Joshua's next fight in the coming days, and now it looks very much like it's going to be Jake Paul, the controversial figure. Whatever you think about him, he makes a lot of money, huge views, sells fights, but he was supposed to fight Gervonta Davis. That is not happening, and now he's potentially facing one of the biggest names in heavyweight boxing. Whenever you mention the name Anthony Joshua, people are interested, and of course the fight people still want to see is Anthony Joshua against Tyson Fury, and that's the dream fight which Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren and Turki Al-Sheikh are trying to make next year. But Eddie Hearn has said we need Anthony Joshua back in that ring. He's not been in the ring since losing to Daniel Dubois in devastating fashion at Wembley Stadium last year. But if he'd have said that time ago that his next fight would be Jake Paul, not a single person on this planet would believe me. But it does look like now that Anthony Joshua, the former world champion, is about to face Jake Paul in a month's time.
Mate, it's a great thing, so we're going to shut that Jake Paul nonsense away. AJ's going to knock him out.
Would it be similar, do you think, to the way AJ knocked out Francis Ngannou? Because Eddie Hearn's just said about the rage maybe AJ.
It'll be worse. It'll be worse. It'll be worse.
1 round?
1 round. But if he goes past 3 rounds, we don't know what's going to happen.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. If AJ goes in there trying to mess around, trying to show his boxing skills, nah. He's going to go in there and light him out. That's what we want.
Yeah. I mean, is it something you'd love to see as well? I know, I mean, you've known
Listen, we're all going to be tuning in to watch it. That is it. There's nothing else. December, before...
Tommy Fury reacts by comparing his own battle with Jake Paul to the challenge Joshua now represents.
He explains that if he could defeat Paul, then Joshua, a far stronger and more accomplished fighter, would face no difficulty at all. Fury asserts that the matchup is less about technical skill and more about experience and levels within the sport. He believes Paul is entering territory he is unprepared for, and Joshua's physical dominance alone will create problems from the opening bell. Tommy Fury reiterates confidence in Joshua's ability to control the fight. He mentions that facing Paul provided insight into Paul's strengths and weaknesses, leading him to conclude that Joshua would handle the contest effortlessly. Fury highlights Joshua's size, technical foundation, and punching power as being on a completely different level. In his view, there is no realistic scenario in which Paul can compete for long without being overwhelmed by Joshua's superior attributes and in-ring intelligence.
Jake Paul. Excuse my French, what the fuck is Anthony Joshua going to do to Jake Paul? I think my dad said that AJ could beat him with his prick, and I completely will back that up. Even if AJ had a broken arm in there, it still wouldn't go past a minute. To be quite honest with you, and as a safety aspect, there's no way that fight can go ahead. At the end of the day, my God, how good does it make me look? He gets beat by Jake Paul. Well, that automatically makes me two-time heavyweight champion of the world, doesn't it? There's no proper way. I've got to laugh about it. How are we even talking about this? He got his nut boxed off by me a little over 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden he's talking about fighting Anthony Joshua. It's like, come on. Like, you can't be serious. He can't beat me. I'm not Anthony Joshua, am I? So
Allen reiterates his earlier warning, emphasizing that Paul cannot treat this fight lightly. He points out that Joshua's timing, strength, and precision could shift the contest instantly, leaving Paul vulnerable. Allen explains that once Joshua applies sustained pressure, the fight could turn dramatically in his favor. He highlights the physical dangers associated with such a mismatch, noting that Paul may not be prepared for the intensity and expertise an elite heavyweight brings. Caution is strongly advised for all involved.
Paul lost to Tommy Fury. Anthony Joshua cannot box Jake Paul. Horrific. He's dangerous for one, and two, if Jake Paul even lands a glove on him, it just diminishes everything that he's achieved. Jake Paul won't last 2 minutes for me. Never mind Anthony Joshua. It's ridiculous. It's a joke.
If AJ does say yes to going in against Jake Paul, does he harm his legacy?
I would lose a bit of respect for him. I think a lot of boxing people would as well, to be honest. Why would he box him? Two-time heavyweight champion of the world, one of the best heavyweights the last 20 years, held British boxing on his back. People might say he deserves to box Jake Paul. But why though? Why would he do it?
Did you lose respect from when he fought in Ngannou? Did you lose respect from Fury when he fought in Ngannou?
Ngannou's a serious fighting man. World champion in the mixed martial arts.
It's a worrying thing, potentially, the damage that AJ could do to Jake Paul.
He'll hurt him. Yeah, Jake Paul is a cruiserweight. You wouldn't put the Midlands area cruiserweight champion in with Anthony Joshua, so why would you put Jake Paul in there? Just because he's a superstar, whatever. I don't know what he does. What does he do? What is he?
A YouTuber.
It's just not worth it. He's got enough money as it is. Why risk all that for a few more quid? I don't like it. I hope
it was only a couple of months ago that we were told it was really close, and then it was Jake and Tank, and now that's off for other reasons. Your initial reaction to the fact that December Miami might be on?
Yeah, jumping from Gervonta Davis all the way up to Anthony Joshua seems absurd. It doesn't seem like it's a reality.
Seems very Jake Paul.
It seems, but you know, sometimes these crazy things. Who would have ever thought Francis Ngannou would get a shot against Tyson Fury? When we first started talking about it, it's like, that's never going to happen. And when it did, we saw Tyson Fury have a very, very tough night, get knocked down and scrape through on points. Anything's possible in boxing. I think the chances of Jake Paul beating Anthony Joshua, I don't know, he's got a very, very low chance. I can't see any way that Jake Paul can win a boxing match with 10, 12-ounce gloves on with Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, you know, world champion, silver medalist, Olympic gold medalist, two-time heavyweight champion. He's a top 10, top 5 in some people's arguments, heavyweight, and he hasn't gone that far over the hill. He's not Mike Tyson, nearly 60 years old. I can't see it happening, but if it can happen and AJ wants it, then obviously it's going to be a massive, massive payday as well as a massive spectacle. It would be an absolute crush box office numbers, and unfortunately for Jake, that will be potentially his last fight in boxing if that first bell rings.
I know your friend Derek had a few things to say about it last night, and he said AJ's got 3 rounds. And that's not that if it goes past 3, AJ's going to lose, but if it goes past 3, his quote was, people are going to go, what are you doing?
It depends how
he can't go past 3.
It depends how he goes past 3 rounds. He could go out there and play with him and soften him up and make him look silly. Or he could go out there, try and knock him out in the first round,